Now listen in, time to hear from.
Usually it's better when you start it at the beginning.
Right.
Fucking Christ. We're off to a good start.
Mr. War Report coming live every Tuesday at 7. Amanda and Eric, and the voice of NEW, Vince Berry, hitting all the topics like a clothesline flurry. Turn up the speakers. You can listen from your car, even on your couch. They too raw, who NXT, handing out smackdowns, follow on IG. Plus, it's sponsored by Tag Me a Date. Go to YouTube and sub now for every update. It's all wrestling here, no safe space. Now listen in, time to hear from some of the greats.
Oh, God damn it.
This one hurt.
This is awful.
I'm really getting tired of starting every week with shit news.
Yeah.
And for those of you who don't recognize, this is Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff's music back in WCW. Which I have to say was some pretty horrific fucking music. But, I mean, it made sense for what it is.
Oh, yeah. For him, though,
I feel like I'm watching the Muppet movie when they go, Miss Piggy.
But that WCW thing, so ladies and gentlemen, for those of you that don't know, unfortunately, Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff has passed away. We mentioned him last week as part of our kind of roundup about things that were going on. We mentioned that Terry Funk was suffering from dementia. We don't know the extent. And then we mentioned the same thing with Paul Orndorff, the video that had surfaced where he was having a bad day. Followed by July 4th, he was clean shaven. Looked like he was doing all right. But that's just the unfortunate thing about dementia. They have good days and bad days, and you don't know when the good are going to get good and when the bad are going to get worse. So,
and sometimes the good are so good that you're like, wow, like it maybe, and then it's usually right after that.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it's just, the way it goes. So,
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure we all have, but I have family members that definitely,
yeah, of course. I mean, it's just really shitty that we have to honor and celebrate the life of another fallen superstar.
Yeah.
And Orndorff in his own right is a legend in a lot of ways. I mean, he wrestled the best of the best.
WrestleMania against Hulk Hogan. Not much. What else can you do? That is
right, especially then at that time, like to make it to a Mania and wrestle Hulk Hogan. I mean, that's you've made it. Like, I mean, this is at that time, that was
yeah, definitely.
That's like getting a main event spot against The Rock right now.
Right, it'll be Rock, Stone Cold,
which is why I kind of said you don't necessarily need the title to be able to hype the fuck out of that match. Although to be the head of the table, I feel like he's got to have the title. But but again, sincerest condolences go out to the Orndorff family. It sucks, man. It's another one, and now we got to worry about Funk, and and Lord knows who else. It's every time we turn around,
it's happening left and right nowadays.
It's that generation, unfortunately, the '80s guys into the Attitude Era guys that are really having the short lifespans. Now it seems like with the technology and the medical information that's out there, if people are doing steroids and other things, they're doing them safer for the most part. They've got more information about it. They're able to, the concussion thing has been, even though they knew about it back then, they didn't have as much technology and wasn't as much information about concussions as they do now. So they're able to help more with that. There's concussion protocol. There are treatments now for concussions that weren't available back in the day. So it's encouraging to see that guys like Edge still living a normal life despite career-ending injuries at one point. Guys like TJ Wilson, TJ Perkins, right? No, TJ Wilson is the heart guy.
That's Natalia's husband.
Natalia's husband. He broke his neck. It was during.
It was a Samoa Joe match too, right?
It was during the Muscle Buster, but it wasn't really the Muscle Buster's fault. It was going to happen if he took a bad bump. So that was the end of the Muscle Buster in WWE, unfortunately, but also was the end of TJ's career. But the medical technology that's out there now, he's able to live a great normal life. He's not in a wheelchair. If this was 20, 30 years ago, he would be in a wheelchair like the Dynamite Kid, unfortunately.
100%, but it's still, for him, when your whole world is professional wrestling. I mean, this kid was born and raised in the business. Right. So to wake up one day and realize it's all over because of one bump, and that's the reality, when people say, oh, that shit is fake and this and that. At the end of the day, these guys do one thing wrong.
About that.
These guys do one thing wrong, and it's a game changer. It can be.
Mr. Wonderful had an arm injury.
Yep.
That he had the option to get surgery and get fixed. It was like a nerve issue, or work the main events against Hulk Hogan and work that whole loop leading up to WrestleMania,
which now would never be an option.
Right. They would just pull you off. They'd be no, can't do it. And make you get the surgery so you're healed up, and then do that storyline another time. But 4 pay-per-views, no, not even back then. 2 pay-per-views a year, 1 pay-per-view a year. There's not that many. He worked through it. Unfortunately, he paid the price because it did cause atrophy in his arm, and then during his later WWF career into his WCW career, which ended up being his last stop before retiring. In WCW, and he was working there in the early to mid 90s. Then he started becoming a trainer at the power plant as well. So he stayed involved with WCW and was on TV up until 2000 or so with WCW as a trainer at the power plant. He'd come in and do storylines, but you could see that his arm was completely atrophied, and he'd try and move so that his bigger arm and bigger side of his body was more towards the camera. But there was nothing you could do. The guy, no matter what kind of good shape he could get in, the nerve damage just took hold of that entire arm, and it was just so much smaller than the rest of his body. And that was a lifelong price that he had to pay for choosing that Hogan main event in Mania versus the surgery. So, something that was a temporary choice ended up with a long-term.
The sad part is, though, at the end of the day, if you're the one that's in that position, and it's either you take the match with Hogan,
right,
and you've made it as far as you're going to make it, right, or you pass on it to get the surgery. I can't imagine anyone that's not taking that match against Hogan and saying, "Fuck it, I'll worry about that down the road."
Exactly. So that's what he did. That's what they did back in the day. That was the wrestler's mentality. You worked through injuries. You took a couple painkillers and washed it down with a Bud Heavy and just fucking went out there and did your thing.
And now you don't get that option. I mean, they take that shit seriously.
Surgery, physical therapy, and then you would have to get a full physical right up before you could even get back, which is awesome that they're doing that now.
Well, somebody's got to think about them down the road.
Yeah. Oh, and here's the other thing I wanted, because Kat brought this up. There is currently a GoFundMe out there for the funeral expenses for Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff. Now, you would imagine that a guy that main evented WrestleMania and had several successful years in WWF and WCW would have had money put. And I understand
these guys never. A lot of them, a lot of them aren't smart like JBL or Kane or these guys. They just blew it all. Right. They didn't save. It was
And now
I'm going to party.
The opposite of that, modern day, WWE as part of the Performance Center, and then as part of being a WWE employee, they have education for people, and they get them to understand what a retirement plan is and what they're how to save money and what they should invest in and different things. So you can, if you don't know what you're doing, if you're a young person who just got out of college, you were playing college football, for example, then you get signed to the Performance Center. They'll teach you how to get that retirement plan set up instead of just leaving you to your painkillers and Bud Heavies and leaving you to your own devices to blow it all on various things. But it's really sad to hear that somebody like Paul Orndorff has to, after all of this, needs the fans.
He wasn't that old.
No, he wasn't that old. That's the other thing.
I mean, it's
Flair's still kicking around. Hogan's still kicking around. But really,
Flair. Listen, Flair's an anomaly.
Yeah.
I mean, let's
that
motherfucker.
It's them and what Greg Valentine and the Butcher. That's it.
Beefcake.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Those are the only
Beefcake.
guys. Yeah, that's like there's like 4 guys left from that generation: Tully Blanchard and Arn.
Well, Tito Santana and Rick Martel are still alive.
Tito was one guy who never took the big bumps, never like broke his body. He worked very safe.
Yeah. Well, and that's because he's still alive.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. He worked.
I mean,
he went a different route. Some people wanted the big
another good example.
Yeah, who's that?
Another good example, Ted DiBiase.
Yes.
I mean, listen. Now, granted, he's back now. In some way, he probably needs some money. But he can do what he does as a manager, take a bump here or there. Right. You know what I mean? But he doesn't have to. I've always been a huge fan of Ted DiBiase. So anytime they bring him back and use him, I'm pretty happy.
I wonder.
The ironic thing, though, is when did we think when we'd be having this conversation years later about which ones were still going to be alive that Jake the Snake would still be alive?
Yep. Oh, that's a big one. I can't believe
Amen. And doing well.
Exactly.
Scott Hall, too. I mean, he's a little later on, but screw Hogan. Flair's immortal. Well, yeah, Flair is immortal. Yeah, I mean, listen, he pretty much is. I mean,
Did you see
the guy went down in an airplane and that didn't even take him. I mean, it's.
There's a video. He was on vacation or somewhere with it was him and Fifi or Wendy, whatever her name is, and then Charlotte and Andrade, and they're at like a pool somewhere, and friggin' Andrade suplexing him into the pool. I'm like, this is an 80-year-old man, leave him alone. But Flair wanted to take the bump. He's like, ready? He grabbed he hit.
Yeah, Flair initiated the whole thing.
That was crazy.
As long as it was awesome. Directly on his hip, he's good.
Well, yeah, I know. Well, that was because of the airplane crash.
Of course, I know. I'm just saying you could do whatever the hell you want to him as long as it's not on the hip.
As long as he turned, he always took those back bumps sideways. Him and Eddie Guerrero. Eddie would do it because the rings in Mexico weren't really rings; they were like concrete. They were very, very hard. So that's why flat back bumps are not very common or weren't very common in Lucha Libre because the rings were so fucking hard. So they would roll. But
Rey Mysterio does it sometimes too.
Yeah, Eddie took like a big superplex or something on a Mexican ring and it messed up his back. So ever since then he took suplexes and back bumps on his side.
They do that at the AAA too. It's
those matches are
hard as a fucking rock.
So before we get into the Raw, because I know we're gonna delve deep into this. We do have one thing on the docket here. Cat moved, as you may know, and unfortunately lost some items in the move, and asked that if anybody had any memorabilia to send her way, to do so. So I went on eBay.
Oh no, I meant that sarcastically, not for it to be really done.
But I took the opportunity. So we have it arrived yesterday, and here we go. It has not been opened. Kat, I'll leave you to it.
I love it.
Janetti, that's fantastic.
That's
it is an
cool.
autographed.
And it's an IC picture too.
Yep, he's holding the Intercontinental title. Yeah, man. So that's
good shit, Vince. That's awesome, man.
That's freaking awesome. Thank you, sweetheart.
You're very welcome. So now,
so that would have been after he won that Raw against Shawn Michaels.
Right. That was
at the Manhattan. I think I was actually there. Ironically enough,
that was one of the coolest moments. I remember that moment like it was yesterday. I mean, I remember Shawn is dancing around, looking in the mirror, and then all of a sudden he sees Janetti's reflection. and then the fucking place pops, and then Jannetty wins it that night. He wins the IC title.
Yep. And Sherry took the mirror.
Yeah. Yes. Oh man, I remember. It was such a cool moment. It was really well done.
And I know
now I'm gonna actually PM this to him and make him put my name on it. You're like, Marty, you know you love me. You want to write like, "Hi, Cat," like right across here.
Listen, I think if you sent him a message on Facebook, he would send you anything you wanted.
I'm sending him this whole episode now tonight, being like, Marty, look, baby.
Okay, so if you are going to send this out, first of all, no joke, we're Marty Jannetty fans.
Big time.
There's a lot of, who's the Sean, who's the Marty.
We've been trying to get him to come on the show.
Yep. We'd love you on the show, please.
He's actually having his brother Gino is not doing too well right now, so that's a bit of a problem.
Jeez, all right. Well, best wishes to Gino, but yes, we'd love to have you on the show. Also, yeah, the whole who's the Sean, who's the Marty of the group is kind of a weird thing because it's not like Marty Jannetty got to pick what happened to him after the group split up. You know what I mean? Right. He wasn't booking it. Aside from the fact that skill-wise, Marty, for a very long part of that Rockers tenure, was the better worker, hands down. Sean may have been the better promo, but Sean only was the better worker for the last year of the Rockers.
Yep, going into WrestleMania 7.
Right. Marty was always the better worker, and then Sean was the eye candy guy, the promo guy, whatever. I always wanted more. I think a lot of people did, even when he made that brief comeback in like 2005, 2006.
Yep, but like 1994 Jannetty was like the best freaking Jannetty there was.
Is that with the tassels?
The tassels and the short pants. Yep, just before he did with Al Snow, Leaf Cassidy or whatever, he was on freaking fire.
Jannetty definitely got the raw end of the stick, but at the end of the day, they made the right decision because look how big Shawn Michaels became. I don't think Jannetty could have ever gotten as big as Shawn. I mean, I'm just being honest.
And Marty holds no animosity. If you actually listen to him, whatever, he goes, I can't blame him for taking that deal. He goes, hell, yeah, he was my brother, he was my best friend, but he goes, I would have
and I've heard that. I've heard that as well in some of his interviews. But there was a time that he may feel that way now, but when that shit first went down, there's no way that he wasn't pissed at Sean.
You're gonna be mad.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I would be. You know what I mean? Like, so either way,
perspective on it.
Yeah, but either way, man, if we could get Jannetty, I know we've reached out to him a few times. It would be great. We'd love to have him. We'd make the whole show about him.
I want to talk about that
I'm making this my Facebook default tonight, man.
Yes, I want to know when he stirred up the police with that fake murder storyline thing.
My God.
I'm pretty sure there's going to be things that he's not going to want to.
I love
he's an open book about that stuff. Someone asked him about the sleeping with his daughter thing, and he answers all those questions.
Well, listen, at the end of the day, Kat, if you can make this happen and he responds and we get him on, just send him a message and say, is there anything off limits? And just say, we want to respect whatever and call it a day. We'll do that. But listen, we're about 20 minutes in.
We've devoted a lot of time to Marty Jannetty. So
to Jannetty and to Orndorff, not to say that Orndorff doesn't deserve it, but there is a lot to cover. Last week was
Tanya Harding. We're going in a better direction.
Yes.
But we do have a lot to cover because we do have some things on SmackDown we should touch on. We have Raw, and then of course this Sunday is Money in the Bank. So we should probably throw out some picks and things like that. So, I mean, should we start a little with SmackDown maybe since that came first, since the last time we aired?
Well, we had the big news with after the change to the Bianca Belair situation.
Well, right. So we can most certainly start there. So for what bothered me about the way this went down, why not have a match? And say the winner will now be in the match rather than just, hey, Carmella, you're the most beautiful woman on the roster, so we're going to just hand it to you. Yep. Meanwhile, Carmella hasn't won a fucking match recently. So that kind of was weird. I do like how they then added Liv into Money in the Bank as well. I have until the end of the show where we do picks, but something in my gut tells me that we shouldn't sleep on Liv. That things are just kind of working out where maybe she might be the women's. I don't know yet. I still haven't made that as my decision, but since I watched some SmackDown, that's kind of been, in the back of my head.
But they do that a lot too.
So
where like the last minute
replacement
wins the match. So
yeah,
you never know.
And she's had what, 3 weeks of wins, and Zelina Vega, Carmella.
Yeah, they got her on a little bit of a streak, so maybe it happens for her. I'm not against it, but it's just like you're right. The whole thing was kind of strange. I don't know. This whole Sonya Deville thing is kind of strange. I understand that, they wanted her on TV when she's not wrestling, but like,
is she injured?
I don't know. But how did she? All of a sudden, she showed up in a suit one day and started bossing people around, and people started listening to her. I never saw any, like, maybe I just missed out on this. Was there an official?
No, you missed it. Pierce, okay. I think, somehow it was either management or Pierce or somebody made her like a co type of GM for both, for the shows.
Right. That part I understand, but why is this the storyline is what I guess I'm asking.
Well, that's what I'm trying to figure out. I don't really understand why Carmella just gets handed this opportunity, and I don't understand why I like Liv I get getting into Money in the Bank because she has been winning lately. So she's been building some momentum. Because of the stalker situation.
But she's still on TV, even though it's the stalker situation. So what's the difference of her being in the ring or being out of the ring?
Well, right. And that was because I originally was going to say that I think she stopped being on TV altogether because of the stalker situation. And
that's why she lost to Mandy Rose. That part's true.
Well, right. But then at the same time, you're right. Why then, there must be some sort of injury that maybe we just missed. I don't know. Ryan, if you're listening, do your job.
Yeah, Ryan, see if she's. I have thought though, Steve. What if she's not injured? And Sonya Deville, being in charge of the women's division, inserts herself into the Money in the Bank match at the last minute and wins.
I mean, that it's 1,000% possible, and that would be entertaining. But, with this writing team, who the fuck knows which direction they're going in?
I still remember a couple weeks ago, the girl got fired for not knowing Bobby Lashley's name.
Well, and then tweeting it, you fucking moron.
Oh, I have no experience in, don't say the quiet.
I don't even know who our champion is. What's a champion? What the fuck?
Ashley. She goes, I think his name is Ashley. The biggest, blackest guy you've ever seen, and his name is Ashley. Okay.
Oh, and listen, since
you called it though, Vince. You see what I just put in the chat?
Well, check it out.
It's on the one on the StreamYard here, not in the Messenger.
Oh, the StreamYard. Okay.
I'm gonna say it week after week after week, and I'm gonna continue to say it because whenever we talk about SmackDown, I'm still at a point now where the absolute best part of SmackDown, you already know, Kat, is what?
It's Shinsuke, Pat McAfee, and everybody.
Pat McAfee, start to finish now. It's not even just because of Shinsuke. Like, everything.
Come on, the little foot massage thing with Big E.
Oh my God, was amazing. I mean, just everything about it, dude. I fucking love it. He's really, to me, Eric's nuts. I just don't get it.
He doesn't like. I cannot wait for Eric to come back so you guys can hash this out live on the air.
You see, Tara's
there's really nothing to hash out at this point because he says he went and watched, and he still can't stand him. I don't fucking get it. The guy.
You see how Tara's commenting on here? Like, how Tara's like a weekly member now of listening and everything. She had the argument with him on her Facebook too, because she's like, I freaking love Pat McAfee. He goes, I'd rather listen to Fran Drescher.
Wow.
Yeah. He had the same argument with Tara. Well, not really arguing, but the same.
I just
debate.
don't get it. It's like we always say we need a commentator that's passionate and that's an actual fan, and we have one, and then he finds something.
And just to contrast, not that the guy's doing a bad job, but look at the guy on Raw. Not really a wrestling fan, but he's a sports commentator, so he's got a good voice. And all.
Is it me, or does he actually sound like Rogan a little bit?
Yeah, I think that's like, he came from the MMA stuff, so it's all very not samey, but like that's the kind of.
He's worlds better than the other putts.
Yeah, Adnan. Yeah, that was
Adnan, whatever the fuck his name is. God bless the guy.
Wise. They should have brought back Colonel Adnan instead. That was the guy that was with Sheik in that second run.
General Adnan?
General Adnan.
Yeah, with it was Colonel Mustafa was Iron Sheik.
Mustafa, yep, Colonel Mustafa, and then General Adnan was the other guy with the big Saddam Hussein mustache. Anyway, enough about 30-year-old wrestling. There's also the head of the table, which, funny enough, the star of .205 Drive was on the show on Friday. One of the Usos, I forget which one, that likes a little drinky poo, was on the show with the rest of the cast.
Well, now, so we should talk about this for a minute, because that was a big part of our conversation last week. How was WWE going to react? We know that upper management was quite pissed off about the situation, obviously. So obviously they were not looking to change the direction of the story. Because he was heavily featured on that episode. He had a real moment with his brother, very short and quick. I'm sure you caught it, like a real moment. And to see the dynasty together is what I've been waiting for. I think this is, at the end of the day, Roman goes over on Edge. I don't know how it's going to go down, or what the cause is going to be, or what Fugazi finish or whatever. But at the end of the day, Roman's leaving as champion, in my opinion.
They should. What if they recreate the "I did it for the Rock" storyline, but Jimmy Uso is drunk and hits Edge with his car?
I did it for the people.
I did it.
Oh, shut up, you thong wearing fatty!
I did it for the table. I'm a real asshole.
I did it for the Rock. I did it for the people. Oh my god, sounded like Eugene was fucking saying it.
So Kat did send a link through on the chat here. It looks like Sonya Deville had been injured, was cleared and ready to go for WrestleMania 37, but they pulled her back for God knows what reason. And then they even had her penciled in for the Money in the Bank pay-per-view in the Money in the Bank match at one point this week, but didn't go through with it. So maybe she does make a return. Maybe it's in the match. Maybe it's after the match. Maybe it's interfering in the women's championship match, or inserting herself in that match to spice it up, because otherwise we know Bianca Belair is just going to run through Carmella. There's really no other option. Like, Carmella's not beating Bianca Belair.
No. I don't even think that's a question. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a complete squash, quite honestly. And that's not to shit on Carmella. I mean, she's worlds better than what she was when she first, started, and she plays her gimmick well. She's beautiful. She is. But at the end of the day, Bianca Belair is worlds better than Carmella. I mean, it's so, and it sucks for Bayley. I was looking forward to this match.
Oh, yeah.
They had potential
so Bayley's injury.
9 months.
She's out 9 months, training injury, ACL, which, as somebody who's had an ACL tear, it's a nasty injury. It can be 8 months, it could be a year. If you're in good shape, you could get it done in 6 months, but you're fucking pushing it. 8 months is a very good estimate. So it's just unfortunate she's been on this Thunderdome run, because in the Thunderdome it was the Bayley show for a long time.
Right.
And she carried that show for them. And just when live crowds are coming back, when she could really start working with the audience, this happens. Here we
and
are.
you know how excited she was to be able to get back in front of a crowd. Right. So, as much as anyone else, they're all super hyped about getting back and feeling that, because there's just no explaining it. I mean, when you get the adrenaline of hearing the roar of the crowd and them booing or cheering you, it's an undescribable feeling that you can only experience truly if you're in the situation and you get to experience it, or at least attend something like a WrestleMania where you're amongst 60 to 80,000 other wrestling fans, and you get the goosebumps and you get the chills and you get all the emotions. You don't get that in a Thunderdome, unfortunately. And God bless WWE. They created this Thunderdome. They did the best they could under the situation. The writing aside, because that's an issue. No matter whether you're in a Thunderdome or you're in front of a crowd, it's going to be the same shitty writing. But to be able to come together and say, okay, what are we going to do here? We're going to create this Thunderdome and have all these TVs and everything else and have the fans interact and be a part of it, even if they're dictating how you're supposed to respond, which it's going to be interesting now because they're going to lose that power. But, well, to a degree, they'll still pipe it in. But, yeah, I'm excited, man.
I'll tell you what, the kids loved being in the Thunderdome.
I'm sure.
They had I'm not going to lie that we can even argue about the fact that I liked it when I was in the Royal Rumble and, I had that great seat. But, they had so much fun in there. And after a while, they don't even care. But the thing that was more cool about that is, like, every now and then I'd walk past or whatever because I'd be watching it. And you'd actually hear a wrestler that would go back there and actually talk with the fans.
Yeah, so that's cool.
They made it this really, really smart thing.
And they made it free, which is the other thing.
As I said, I ain't never getting those Royal Rumble tickets,
Unfortunately, it cost a lot of people their jobs, but it was free for everyone else. So, but
imagine if they charged money for it. Do you know how badly people would have responded to that?
They would have been afraid to do that because they would have had nobody, or they'd have a few, but nowhere near the amount that you would need.
I tell you what, like, the call time for that, like for Raw and SmackDown, you're supposed to be on there they tell you to be on there by 7:15, so that way they can pick your spot and everything. If you're not on there by 6 o'clock, logged in and like picking the screen, don't even bother. Even if you have a confirmation, don't even bother jumping on.
Wow.
Interesting.
Like, I used to make the kids sit there, like they'd each take a tablet, a book or something, and they would be sitting there waiting for like almost 2 hours. I got to pee. Okay, switch. Come, kid, pick a kid and get in there, because if you disappear from the screen for more than 5 minutes, you're out.
Wow.
And that's before Raw or SmackDown even starts.
Oh my God.
So picture you're there for 2 hours before 8 o'clock, then you're sitting there for 3 more fucking hours for Raw.
Wow, that's amazing. So, anything else on SmackDown that that really is important? I mean, the whole thing was based around Edge was going to call Roman out. He eventually calls him out. The Usos come out. Edge dominates basically in the end. It's going to set up, I think, a 6-man. Well, no, what am I saying? Because this week it's over anyway. So I don't know.
Ray and Dominic.
Oh, yeah,
right, they made their return.
Maybe they could do the 6-man on Friday.
I will say Cesaro, Seth Rollins, if you didn't have a chance to watch the match.
Really good match.
Huh?
Said really good match.
Yeah, really good. I mean, as it always is, but this one, I mean, really, really had me paying close attention the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
Shinsuke Corbin, of course, was great. I mean, other than that,
my one real question is, and I don't know if we're ever gonna have an answer for this. If you're gonna run back Edge versus Roman Reigns, why did Edge get pinned at WrestleMania? You had 3 guys in the match. You had the setup for a triple threat to pin one guy to preserve the other guy, and you stacked both of them up, which made for a great finish of the guy being dominant and stacking 2 guys up, but also makes it like, I don't know. when you do the math in your head, like the fight math, and Edge comes back, and you go, well, wait a minute, he just lost. So I want him to win, but like he just lost. So do you believe in Edge as much now as you did 3 months ago? So that's the only thing that's weird for me is like they didn't preserve Edge, and they had to, not that he's not hot, but they had to reheat Edge rather than just having Daniel Bryan take the pin and having Edge waiting to like come back and say, I was never pinned, I should get a rematch, and then you can sell the rematch.
By the way, just as a sidebar, I don't want to change the subject, but I'm going to quickly just because you mentioned his name. But has anyone else started to hear strong rumors, rumors that Bryan Danielson is on his way to All Elite Wrestling?
And that'll be enough for Vince to change the fucking channel.
You know, I'll give him a chance.
Yeah.
Are we officially? Is he officially like his contract is? He's.
I feel like he's done, man.
Like the contract is up. Like it's a done deal.
It expired in May, is what if I recall correctly.
And they wanted him. I think
so. He technically is free. He can go anywhere he wants.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was. If I remember correctly, the only way he was going to go back was if WWE allowed him to wrestle outside of the WWE, like in Japan.
Yep.
And I don't think they were down with. Well, actually, no, because they did. Nick Khan did reveal that he had conversations with New Japan Wrestling about exchanging talent with the WWE and New Japan. So they had discussions, but it never.
But did he want a part-time contract on full-time money?
That could be it as well. And I mean, hey, as much as I personally don't enjoy the man, you could go to with the resume that he has and say, listen, multi-time WWE champion, lock on the Hall of Fame, all this other stuff, WrestleMania moments, et cetera, et cetera. He should, why shouldn't he ask for full-time money on a part-time schedule?
I agree. It just may not have been the right time since they were
I know it's not
left and right.
But in his mind, hey man, I screwed my body up for so many years, taking these big bumps and shit for you guys to get over.
You owe me. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe it's time to pay him. But if they didn't want,
they obviously didn't want to pay him the money, and AEW, I'm sure, is willing to pay him the money just to say we got another one at this point.
And they will let him, because it's been shown before, they will let their talent work New Japan, and they'll bring talent from New Japan into AEW and Tokyo Joshi Pro Wrestling for the women, and then Choco Pro for the women.
I want to see Daniel Bryanson, Kenny Omega.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
That's what I want to see. That's what I want to see.
The one thing I'd be curious to see, and I guess maybe him not really talking means he's putting a lot of work in, and maybe he's doing some stuff to get his body ready. But like, what Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson are we going to see? Because like he slowed down. He's you can't work the same speed you worked when you were a young guy when you're an older guy.
Which is for anybody.
Yeah. So I'm just wondering what kind of would he do if you're watching that match? Are you expecting? Is he going to do like change it up like mat-based stuff? Or is he going to do a lot of striking and take those hard hits and take those hard bumps and the big knees that all those like the Snapdragon full Nelson suplex thing? Like, is he going to take all these risky Kenny Omega moves? I don't know. Question mark. Be interesting to see if he's, it maybe, like I said, if he's not around, he's not making a big deal of it. Not that he was ever a biggest social media guy, but he's staying quiet for a reason. Maybe he's getting into like Pac shape, like just super, super ripped.
I would have a problem seeing Daniel Bryan come out looking like Pac. I think it would be very weird. But no, I hear what you're saying. Listen, I am looking forward to the idea, and I'm hoping it comes to fruition. I think he'd be a great addition over there. He obviously has a lot of friends over there. So and listen, it's Daniel Bryan. I mean, he's a main event WWE legend at this point.
If he's available, you bring that. That's the same as like if John Cena was available. You sign, even if John Cena doesn't fit the AEW mold, so to speak, or even Brock Lesnar. You sign, whoever it is, you sign them. So speaking of, since I guess we'll get to Raw in a minute. Let me just mention this very briefly. I saw a headline that may be related to the discussion we're having. The headline was that Tony Khan is promising a big surprise within the coming weeks. Is the big surprise? Initially, when I read it, I thought that maybe he scooped Brock from WWE. But with these now rumblings of Daniel Bryan, maybe the big surprise is that he scooped Bryan.
If I had to guess between those two, I'm going with Daniel Bryan.
Agree.
As much as Brock Lesnar's about money, I think he'd always give Vince an opportunity to match or beat the price before. You know what I mean? Like he would give him that respect. So I'm thinking it very much can be Daniel Bryan. I mean, listen, at this point, there's a lot of people that have been released that it could also be, I mean, let's not forget about Braun Strowman, who is a free agent right now. So, there's definitely some possibilities.
Daniel Bryan's officially been removed from the upcoming video game with the WWE also as well.
Oh, they took him out of the game?
That's the major, that's from Sportskeeda. It happened.
I think they took Braun out too. I think they took out all the release people.
Well, because if you look at the last WWE game and the roster that's on there, it's like
nobody's there anymore.
70% releases. It's crazy.
Yeah, but I just think, like I said, it's interesting that they removed him already.
Yeah, I mean, that would mean that he didn't sign a renewal. Like, we knew the contract was expiring, but that means he really didn't sign a renewal or even sign like a Legends deal where they could use his likeness. Because that's still like Sergeant Slaughter. If they want Sergeant Slaughter, they just have Sergeant Slaughter sign a contract and he's in the game.
I'm curious. I gotta see if he's on the alumni page or not.
He's probably on the alumni page. I can imagine he's not on the active roster page for sure. He shouldn't be on the if his contract expired. He should be on the alumni page. But I also wonder, while you're there, is Aleister Black on the alumni page, or did they just
Malachi?
Yes,
who is now All Elite Wrestling.
That is some of the best news. According to JR,
I knew it was coming. I just didn't realize that he didn't have the 90-day. I mean, that happened very quickly, which was awesome.
So
that was a big mistake.
It's an old story by internet standards, but came out that WWE, when they moved Aleister Black from NXT to the main roster, did not increase his non-compete from 30 days to 90 days like they usually do. And once they realized it, they called Buddy Murphy in a panic to see if they did the same thing with Buddy Murphy. But Buddy Murphy confirms that he has a 90-day non-compete. Aleister Black, of course, did not. Made his debut last week on AEW Dynamite. Kicked the shit out of Arn Anderson and Cody Rhodes. And that's his setup for feud, built-in feud, right out of the gate.
Very big addition to the roster. So Monday Night Raw. I'm starting to not really give a shit about Bobby Lashley again.
I mean, listen, this could be the end of Bobby Lashley's reign.
I'm still undecided. I don't know. I don't know if we can even do picks tonight because I still don't know which direction I want to go yet. But yeah, it's very possible.
Oh, we could do picks. You can refrain.
I mean, it's.
I'm usually down to the wire on the actual spreadsheet too.
I like how he destroyed the shit at the end and kind of is like badass. It's like I got to be focused, Bobby Lashley. Yeah. It was a great match at the beginning with Xavier. It was great. I enjoyed Alexa Bliss again this week, as I'm sure you all knew that already. the 4-way match where she just kind of vanished because she. So now, but see, this is good, Vince, because even if you're starting to get down on the idea, now maybe she's going to start to torture Eva Marie, and that's going to be fun to watch.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, she was pretty into, and Dewdrop was actually, was actually enjoying the little tit for tat between the two of them on the playground too.
Yeah. I don't dislike Dewdrop. I just feel like once again they gave her the name of like an oversized blue Pokemon, and they just stuck her out there with Eva Marie, and like Eva Marie is wrestling's equivalent of crib death. Yeah. I don't know how else to put it. Eva Marie is the worst thing that's happened to wrestling since Owen Hart fell that one time.
Wow.
Like, Eva Marie is worse than Brawl for All.
Wow.
Holy shit.
Eva Marie is worse than the plane ride from hell. What, can we keep going? Like, how far can we
Vince
go?
has dropped the hammer, and my friend, I could not agree with you anymore.
Here's the thing.
The Montreal screw job.
Wrestle the littlest bit. Even for Miss Elizabeth tried. She couldn't wrestle, but at least she fucking tried. This girl doesn't even try, doesn't even pretend to try.
And her live promo work is still horrible.
Awful.
Like, I gave her the benefit of the doubt with the scripted ones, but that ship is now sailed. Everything about her just sucks. I
had a cold. Really?
I'm telling you, the only thing, in my opinion, the only thing she's got going for her is that she's absolutely beautiful, and her body is sick. She works very hard to keep in shape and does her thing. God bless her. But professional wrestling, outside of being a manager and even one that doesn't speak,
what do you want her to be, Kimchi?
Maybe she can do sign language.
Yes.
I'm not going to teach that bitch.
Could you imagine her trying to learn sign language?
My students on Saturdays could probably do better than that twat waffle.
A twat waffle.
Wow. I hate to bury Eva Marie so much.
And
she made no effort to improve.
No, none. She sucks. Oh, and by the way, I did very much enjoy Jinder Mahal this week with Drew and the custom bike being destroyed and him having the wrong sword. Like, that whole dynamic was cool. I mean, listen, these guys have been friends and known each other a long time, so the chemistry's probably going to be good. They probably will put on a good match. But I don't see Jinder Mahal being victorious.
Well, no. Do you know?
However, I'll explain it to you after the show what a twat waffle is.
Oh no, you have to explain that to a child now. Good job. I don't even remember what we were talking about because you said child twat waffle.
Sorry.
All right.
Is there
Jinder Mahal.
anything better? Well, there's another twat waffle. Jinder Mahal. No, sorry.
No, so here's the thing. There's a funny story behind this whole circumstance. This motorcycle that got chopped up.
Mm-hmm.
After Raw, somebody found a leaked image of a new WWE toy set. It is Drew McIntyre on like the WWE Super Cycle. It's that. That's like when they booked the matches with the shark cage to sell the toy ring with the shark cage.
That's amazing.
They had to come up with a reason to make the real bike into a toy. So they like reverse engineered. It's creative. I mean, I can't knock it, but it's just funny to see like
that's very funny.
They made this motorcycle and had this thing destroyed so they could sell a destructible like motor, Drew can ride the motorcycle, but then like you can pop parts off of it and shit like that.
That's very funny. That's very funny. Oh, by the way, congratulations must be said for Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair.
Yes.
They did win an ESPY at the ESPN Awards, which I mean that's a big deal, and it really it puts wrestling just in another level. That these two women wrestled their hearts out at Mania, and they're being acknowledged. Congratulations. That was very cool. It was actually funny because I wasn't watching, and my mother-in-law comes running into the room. I think wrestlers are on the ESPYs right now. I said, oh, I forgot they were going to be there. So I go and turn and I watch them win. It was funny. She goes, that one with the blue hair is there.
Fran said that?
Yeah.
That's great. Like, and that's the other cool thing was Bianca Belair made her dress.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's very
cool.
Yeah, she sewed her own dress for the award ceremony. So, and you couldn't like the fact that you couldn't tell that it was a homemade dress means that she made a really good dress.
That's very funny.
Like a professional design. I mean, not that she's not a professional designer. She makes her own gear. She is a professional. So very cool.
Better her than me. I can't make any damn clothes.
I've never learned to sew. But Steve,
you know how much money I'd save with my kids if I actually fucking knew how to?
That many kids, yeah. You would save on clothes and everything. You just patch them up. Bobby Lashley. You're saying you're getting sick of him.
I shouldn't say that. I'm not getting sick of him. I think I'm getting sick of the New Day interact. Like I'm getting that whole, even MVP right now. Like it's starting to, like the girls, like the whole, like just be the Hurt Business. You know what I mean? Like that was cool. Like this, I don't know. I'm just getting over it. I think.
Make everybody
get off the hoe train. There you go.
Like one day Raw opens up and Bobby Lashley wakes up in his bed, and they're like, Bobby, there was a gas leak at the Thunderdome. You hallucinated the last 8 months, and it's the Hurt Business waking him up, and then they're back together, and then we just never acknowledge that the Hurt Business broke up.
You just Dallased the WWE.
Yes. So
and ironically, his name was Bobby.
I would much rather they just pretend, like put the Hurt Business back together and pretend they never broke up. Because that was when Bobby was really interesting. And it gave those other guys a purpose. They were tag team champions. They were heaters for Bobby. They could take bumps for him. They could do multi-man matches. Now, that's the good thing about having a faction around a champion. You can have a lot of guys take bumps for him, take losses for him, get heat on his behalf, interfere on his behalf. Now it's just Bobby and MVP. And you're right. The whole act has... I don't want to say gone downhill because it's lost two big pieces of it.
It's just not what it was. It was stupid. There was no reason to split them in the first place. Yep. I don't understand that decision. Listen, we're getting close to the top. Morrison Ricochet. I unfortunately have not watched this match yet, but I have heard that they got a standing ovation behind the curtain. So I will be going back to watch it, but your mouth hit the floor. So it was really that good.
Fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, those two are incredible. It should be you know what I mean?
I mean, it made the spot between Ricochet and Morrison, that like the 2 weeks ago spot or whatever, when he was sitting on the guardrail.
Yeah.
That made that look like a 7 or an 8 compared to what they pulled off last night.
Wow. All right. I will be going back to watch that.
And it was a good 20 solid minutes too. It wasn't even like it was a short match. So they put on a good 20, 30-minute match.
Very cool. All right. Yeah, I'm going to go back and watch that. So we're getting close to the top here. We got about 7 minutes or so left. Did you guys want to run through picks or?
So we got AJ and Omos Raw Tag Team Champions defending their titles against Eric and Ivar, the Viking Raiders. What do we think about that one?
I think AJ and Omos are keeping the titles.
I got to go with what my son says, and I have to go for the fucking Raiders.
I'm leaning.
I would love the Raiders, but
right.
I don't.
See, this is the eternal struggle. I would like them to win because they just came back, and it would be a way to kind of get them more momentum. But at the same time, AJ Styles and Omos have had these titles for a while. Maybe Eric and Ivar have to lose this one in order to win the rematch or something.
But don't forget, one took the win last night, the other one didn't.
They split, yeah.
So
I feel like the big win is around the corner at SummerSlam. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But again, we're going into we're starting the live show sequence.
Aside from WrestleMania, this is the first touring pay-per-view back.
What are the fans going to really want to see? The Viking Raiders have been gone for so long due to the injury shit. Not really that it's shit, but the injury. it's a perfect opportunity to give them their moment to shine that they should have had last year when they had the whole battle of the network stars with the Street Profits.
Battle of the Network Stars. Man, we are going back 40 years again.
Well, that's what they did every week.
Yes, they did. That is
except you not so much, but you know.
Let's see. So we have the other. I'm gonna try and go by order of importance here. Charlotte Flair challenging Rhea Ripley for the WWE Raw Women's Championship.
I'm gonna go with Charlotte this time.
I'm gonna have to agree.
You can never really bet against Charlotte. I say it every time.
Well, I did last time, and that's how I lost my point. So you know.
Right, well, that's the thing. I think I bet on her, but it wasn't was it a count out? Was it DQ? It was some kind of fluky.
Yeah, it was disqualification.
Yeah, so that's why I got a point for that one. I think I'm still not. I didn't do great on that one, but yeah, I'm going to lean towards Charlotte. Was the SmackDown Women's Title match officially announced as Bianca?
It got moved to SmackDown for next Friday between Bianca and Carmella. They're not wrestling on Sunday.
Right, so they're doing it for the live crowd. So that title will not be now defended at the pay-per-view. Which
pay-per-view worthy match.
What do we think of Bobby Lashley defending his WWE Championship against one Kofi Kingston?
Kofi.
I would like to see Kofi, only because, and I'll tell you, it has to do with one of the picks down the line. Speaking of,
I'm going to go with Bobby Lashley.
Money in the Bank, men's Money in the Bank, Ricochet, John Morrison, Riddle, McIntyre, Big E, Kevin Owens, King Nakamura, and Seth Rollins.
Big E.
And that's why I want Kofi to win.
Exactly. I kind of want Big E too, but
it could be Riddle. And didn't Riddle say he wants to cash in on tag team champions?
Right. So
I every year this comes out, some dummy on the internet goes, "Oh, well, Otis is going to cash in on the tag team titles. They're going to challenge for the U.S. title." Why? I know it's because Matt Riddle is high all the time, but why on God's green earth, as Harley Race would say, if you win the Money in the Bank, would you challenge for any title except for the top title in the company? There's no reason to trade your singles world title shot and the money and the notoriety that comes with a potential win for a tag team title or an intercontinental. It just, I hate it. And now
I agree with you, but it's different. Reality. I agree with you, but it's different. You have to look at it that way. It's different.
But the Money in the Bank, even the contract says
he's a stoner.
I know, but it would really bug me if he just threw it away.
Dude, I'm doing it for my best friend, bro. Yeah.
The only way it would be funny is if Randy Orton is like, "Okay, I'll hold on to this for us," and then really takes it and cashes in a singles match.
Oh, now that would be fantastic.
That would be so fucked up.
Our briefcase, bro.
Yeah. That would be hilarious.
But that's one route that I think they could take. They're trying to tell a story of Drew McIntyre being his last opportunity as long as Bobby Lashley holds the title.
I still need more time to figure out which way I'm going on those.
Big E and Kofi to both win, because it would be intriguing to me to have Kofi, or to have Big E declare that he was going to challenge Kofi and come over to Raw and then challenge his best friend who he's been in a faction with for the last 8 years.
Yep.
And do they, how do they stay the New Day afterward? I think they still would, but they would have to, you know what I mean? Do they fight as they're friends and they respect each other?
I kind of don't want to see them fight each other. I don't know. I don't ever want them to officially break up. Yeah, I know they're not. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's that one. Those two. How about the women's now Money in the Bank match? We've got Asuka, Naomi, Alexa Bliss, Nikki Ash, Liv Morgan, Zelina Vega, Natalya, and TBD. There's one more spot.
So maybe you're right. Maybe it's going to be Sonya Deville.
Well, Wikipedia says TBD. I don't know why they're saying that.
I tell you what. Right now, my gut's saying I'm going to go with Liv. I'm going to go with the.
She's got
with the sleeper pick.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. She's she's like low key being prepped to win this by getting a couple undercard wins.
Yep, I got to agree with that one. Who'd have thought that she'd be the last surviving member of the Riot Squad?
I know.
Ooh.
Ooh.
There we go. What if it's Becky?
Did you guys see the pictures of her? How black she freaking looks?
All right. Well, no. Now I need it to be written in our pick'ems that I will choose Liv, but if Becky becomes the TBD, then I am switching my pick to Becky for sure.
Okay, I feel like
so that is the contingency we need to make sure that Ryan has. You always have a pick, Tara. So you just came up with that idea. You're good.
Right. And let's see, the last one, singles match for the WWE Universal Championship. Roman Reigns with Paul Heyman and the Samoan Dynasty on his side versus Edge.
Roman all day.
It's gotta be.
You know what? I'm going out on a limb here, and I'm going to go with Edge.
You think they're going to give the feel good go home Edge
for the first ever live audience besides WrestleMania from when he came back at the Royal Rumble last year? Yeah, I am.
Now, how about another possibility of the show on a high note? Immediate cash in on the winner of the main event match.
Not going to be a high moment though if it's Edge. If it's Edge that wins and then someone gets a cash in, it's got to be that Roman loses and then someone from that match cashes in. And who gives a shit if Big E or whatever cashes in on Roman Reigns?
What if he catches it on Bobby?
But what if Kofi wins then?
Yeah.
Unless the Big E Kofi cash in happens then.
Oh man, could you imagine Kofi wins the title and Big E just comes out and fucking stomps on him and takes it from him? Oh my god. That would be
awesome.
That would be the ultimate heat, bro. In the words of
And on that note,
yeah,
we will see you next week with the results, and we will go over who won this pick. Right. It will be interesting to see.
Alex, is your favorite tag team the Viking Raiders?
Usos.
Oh, you deviated.
Wow. Nice.
How about the New Day versus the Viking Raiders?
Hey,
why aren't you you booking?
I don't know if you heard, but those speech therapy lessons have been paying off. He did not say the fucking Raiders right there.
Say it again. Say Viking Raiders.
He got it.
Viking John Morrison.
Viking John Morrison. Okay, I'll take that too.
Hey, listen, as long as he's not swearing at people when he's talking about Vikings, I think we're on the right path.
Well, how about Booker T versus Vince?
I'd retire. I'm not fighting him. Booker's too big.
Do it.
Turn some down.
I really want them to bring back the Uso Penitentiary graphics.
Say it. Welcome. Uso, pay attention, he says.
All right. Well, we should probably pack up for the evening after our special guest co-host joined us. It's always nice to check in on one of Kat's 1,000 children. It's like, you know that story of the Oregon, you had to fold 1,000 paper cranes to make your wish come true. I feel like we just fold paper cranes and they become Kat's children.
No, I'm the little old lady that lived in a shoe that had so many children she didn't know what to do.
Literally. Mm-hmm. All right, folks, this is what we talk about, wrestling and childbirth. No. This is the War Report podcast. You can check us out every Tuesday evening, 6 p.m. on Eastern time. We live stream all over the place. We're on Facebook live streaming, YouTube live, Periscope, Twitch. Most places we're at Tag Me a Date, no spaces, Tag Me a Date, all one word. On Twitch, it's twitch.tv/War Report, all one word. If you are looking for an audio version of the podcast, go to your favorite podcast apps such as Stitcher, SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play Podcasts. Look for either the War Report or Tag Me a Date, and you can subscribe. The audio version goes up about an hour or so after our live stream. and it'll go right into your device as long as you've subscribed. Speaking of subscribing, it'd be great if you could subscribe to our YouTube channel. Once again, you go to youtube.com, type in Tag Me a Date in the search bar, hit subscribe and hit the bell to get alerts on when we go live and when we upload new videos. And feel free to follow our other social media channels and social media pages, all at Tag Me a Date. Guess we'll be back next week for another edition of the War Report. We'll be going over Money in the Bank. We'll be going over maybe AEW will reveal the big surprise this week. Maybe Bryan Danielson, maybe Brock Lesnar. We'll see. And we'll be back for another edition of the War Report, 6 p.m. on Eastern Time, Tuesday evening. Hope you guys have a nice week. Thank you for watching.